Hey, what's up, Logic fans? It's Ash. Today we're going to cover section 5.7 of the text, our 7th section on quantificational semantics, and we're going to be looking at relation expansion. So how do we expand sentences with relations? This is going to give you a really good grip on the meaning of relational expressions, as well as how to handle quantificational sentences with multiple overlapping quantifiers. All right, let's rock. All right, let's jump straight to it by trying a couple of examples. So, following our work on the previous videos, 5.6, can you expand this sentence with one object, with two objects, and with three objects? Pause now and give that a try. All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint here. So let's try it this way. If there's only one object, right, and again, you have to start with the meaning of the sentence. This says everything bears R to itself. So pick anything you like out of Santa's bag. It's guaranteed to be as follows. It bears R to itself. Okay, so if this is the loving relation, as an example, pick anything you like out of Santa's bag. That thing you picked out, it loves itself. Pick another thing out of Santa's bag. It loves itself, okay? So if there's one and only one thing, little a, okay, it loves itself. So that would be the expansion with one object. Pause now and see if you can finish the other two. Okay, so what we're going to do now, obviously, is we're just going to do RAA and RBB. Everything loves itself. So if there's two objects, that means A loves itself and B loves itself. Notice the universal quantifier is still expanded with and, okay? And thus, if there are three objects, right, it's just going to be like this, okay? And so on, and hopefully you can just see the pattern for all of these, okay? So if there were to be four, you just add and DD and RDD and so on. Okay, let's go ahead and try a slightly different one. Let's just make sure that we're sort of on the same page here. Instead of the existential, instead of the universal, what if we did the existential quantifier? So what if we had this sentence? Go ahead and expand this sentence with one object, two objects, and three objects. Pause now. All right, pretty straightforward. Okay, so the first one, if there's just one object A and at least one thing bears R to itself, right, then it's going to be the case that RAA. So this one's going to be the same. The other two are just going to switch the main connective, right? The main connective of the alls is and, because everything is a certain way. The main connective of at least one, or the existential quantifier, is ors, because at least one thing is that way. Okay? So this is going to be your expansion for this sentence on 1, 2, and 3 objects. And again, you can probably very easily extrapolate the pattern for 4, 5, or 6 objects. All right, let's try another one here. Let's do something like this. Let's do universal RXA, where this time what I have is I have a individual constant fixed, right? So this sentence says, pick anything you like out of Santa's bag. That thing you picked out, it's guaranteed to bear R2A. A is going to be born R by that thing you picked out, okay, for everything in there. So 1, 2, and 3 objects. Go ahead and try that one now. Pause. All right, let's walk through this together. So everything bears R to A. So if there's just one thing, little a, then it's going to be RAA. So far, this one's the same as the other two. Now, let's try this a little bit differently. Let's try it with two objects. Everything bears R to A. So A bears R to A and B bears R to A. So RAA and RBA, right? Everything, A and B, satisfy this description, okay? So hopefully you can figure it out from here, but it's going to be RAA and RBA and RCA. Everything bears it, right? And then clearly if you had a fourth object, right, it would be RAA and RBA and RCA and RDA, right? Okay, what if we mix up the position of the fixed relata? So in this case, the relata that was fixed was the right or second relata. What if we fixed the first or leftmost relata? Pause now and expand this sentence with 1, 2, and 3 objects. All right, so in this particular case, this is fixed. So there's at least one thing, right, that is born R by A. Okay, so there's at least one thing in the bag, all right, and if there's only one thing in the bag, then that is going to guarantee that RAA. But if you've got two things in the bag, one of the two has to have A bearing R to it. So either RAA or RAB. Okay, and notice this position is fixed right here, okay. So that's really nice. Now, if you haven't been able to figure it out so far, pause now and see if you can do the 3 object case, okay, and noting that this is the fixed position here, right here. This one's going to be RAA or RAB or RAC, right? At least one thing in the bag is such that A bears R to it, so at least one of these has to be true, possibly some combination thereof. All right, good stuff. Okay, let's move into some more advanced cases. In particular, let's look at cases where we have multiple overlapping quantifiers, all right? Now, let's start with what this sentence means, okay? This sentence means everything bears R to everything, okay? So everything loves everything, for example. Now, if there's only one object, what does that amount to? Pause now. Okay, so it means RAA, right? Okay, if there's only one thing and everything loves everything, then A loves itself. Okay, and that's all that's needed. What about for 2 objects? There's 2 objects, little a and little b. Okay, what does for all x, for all y, rxy mean? Expand that with 2 objects. Pause now. Okay, this case is going to be very interesting. Okay, so in this particular situation, what you've got is RAA and RAB and RBA and RBB. Okay, and what I want to do here is I want to, this enumerates all of the possibilities. Okay, basically what it does is it says, okay, we've got 2 things. They all love everything. So A loves everything, including itself, and B loves everything, including itself. So these 2 cases are the cases where, A is loving itself and it's loving the other thing, B. These 2 cases are the cases where B is loving A and B is loving itself. Okay, so that's the basic pattern here. Now, one way you can think about this, all right, is let's do it this way. So, if you've got for all x, for all y, rxy, one thing you can do is you can think about peeling off this quantifier first and leaving this quantifier alone. What I mean by that is this, all right? Let's peel off this quantifier, so we're going to leave the y's alone, but we're going to be changing the x's. So what you're going to get is an expression like this. You're going to get RAY, okay, and an expression like this, RBY. Okay, so what I've done here is I've peeled off this particular quantifier, all right, and I've sort of said, okay, this means everything bears R to everything. So if I've got 2 objects, that means A is going to bear R to everything and B is going to bear R to everything. Okay, then I just expand each of these by themselves. So if I expand this first one here, right, if I'm just looking at this case, so sorry, this is being a little uncooperative. I'm going to move us over here. So if I'm now going to expand this particular thing, I need it to it's just like the previous cases we did, right? Now it's just everything is born R by A. Okay, so if I do that particular case, what I'm going to end up with is RAA and RAB. So notice this A right here is this one in both cases. Okay, it's sort of fixed now, just like in the previous cases we did, and I've just expanded this part. Everything is born R by A. So A is born R by A and B is born R by A. And then you've got your and this part. So we're going to do and then everything is born R by B. So you're going to have RBA and RBB. And that's exactly what we had here. Okay. But you can do this sort of step-by-step process, and I hope that helps a little bit, right, where you're just peeling off one quantifier at a time. Let's try it with 3 objects, okay? And you might be able to just do it without doing the step-by-step method, and that's fine. But if you want to do the step-by-step method, go for it. I'll show you the answer in a second, and I'll walk you through this sort of step-by-step peeling off one quantifier at a time technique. Pause now. Okay, so what's interesting here, okay, is you're going to end up with all of these, but you're also going to have the C cases. So A is going to bear R to everything, so that means it's going to bear it to C, right? So you could sort of think of this as one whole part here. This is A bearing R to everything. This is going to be B bearing R to everything, just like this. And then you're going to have the cases where C bears R to everything. Like this. So that's going to be your total and complete answer. Let me make sure I did this correctly. Yeah, this looks all right. This looks right. Okay. So yeah, that's going to be your final answer. So it's just like this one, but you've got to add the C cases, okay? Now, if you were to do this step by step, okay, what you would get is something very similar to what we did in the 2 case, except for when you peel off this first quantifier here, you're going to end up with a third case, which is going to be for all y r c y, right? Because this says everything bears r to everything. So if I peel off this quantifier, I'm going to have A bears r to everything, and B bears r to everything, and C bears r to everything. Right? And then I've got to expand each of these sort of independently now. So here I'm going to add my and R and RAC, and this one's going to get my and R BC, and then you're going to, of course, going to have your all of the C cases. So now we're going to expand this one completely out. So you're going to have RCA and RCB and RCC. Okay, and that's the full expansion. This whole thing right here is what we have here. Okay, so you can do it in this sort of step-by-step way if that helps, and sometimes that can help, especially when we're going to start doing negations and things like that. Okay, but once you really start seeing these patterns, I think you're going to be able to put it together very, very quickly. Okay, we're running a little low on time, so let's jump into the next video and we'll just continue doing some of these more advanced examples of relation expansions.